Welcome to The Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Well, hello, everybody. It's Holden back here again. I hope everybody's doing absolutely incredible. Today we have a third-time returning guest with us named Charlie. Well, hello, Charlie.
Hi, how are you? How is everyone else? I hope well.
I'm doing absolutely incredible. You know, life is interesting. Life is great, and even with a few curveballs thrown my way, life is a blessed.
Good. That's the curveballs are usually just blessings in disguise, really. We just can't see it in the moment because it doesn't fit what we want in the moment. But really, usually later, I'm like, oh, that was a really good thing. I'm so happy that happened. So,
Oh my God, for real. So I mean, everybody, if you don't know who Charlie is, Charlie is Charlie Gray. We got brought him on here to record about his first book. Um, it's oh my God, at least I'm not the frog. There we go. And then his second book, The Frog's Bottle. Um, and but this time around, like we're just gonna be a little bit more lighthearted, just kind of catching up with each other. I will kind of get a little bit sentimental here, but I started the podcast. I did the first episode Christmas Day of 2021. I was maybe 2 months clean at the time, and Charlie quickly reached out to me on Instagram. I was like, "Hey, I have this book out. You should totally read it. I could love to come on the podcast and share about it." I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I felt so important being reached out by an author. I was like, "Oh my God, he wants to talk to me." And when we recorded, I was maybe 30 days clean or sorry, 90 days clean at the time. And Charlie is one of two people that I still communicate with to this day. Not every day, but at least I would say at least we touch base once a week to once every other week. Just how are you doing, checking in, stuff like that. So I mean,
definitely.
Charlie has been with me through releasing a podcast, first, second, third relapse,
Yep.
um, and now God willing, we're not going to have another relapse, just one day at a time for me. Um,
One day at a time.
exactly. So I just wanted to catch up. So, I mean, of course, what is new? What's going on with you?
Yeah, because the last time we talked, it was really right around when the second book was coming out. So that would have been early December, late November of last year. And quite a bit, even in that 4 month span, has happened since then, good and bad. I, the turn of the year, of the new year, I got hit with a couple situations I hadn't experienced in sobriety. I had some legal issues getting my license reinstated that it just turned into a process that I did not know it was going to turn into, and it became one of those things where now I'm going to court multiple times a month and I'm constantly having put in my face all of these horrible things I did in my past. And it's like on the weekly, it's like, hey, remember when you were really fucked up and you drove your car drunk everywhere and you pissed on everyone's life and you were like, fuck everything. And it's like, yes, of course I fucking remember that. I write books about it. Do you think I don't remember that shit? Why? What are we doing here? So it's been a great lesson to have that put in my face and then to stand proud and know what I've accomplished since becoming sober July 8th, 2020, because you have to stand up for yourself and you have to be proud of yourself because despite all of this that I'm going through, I'm still doing the best that I can and I'm putting my best foot forward and I'm making the most of each day. And that's what counts. All this court shit will pass, but each day matters and I have to make the most of it. And then, all with that comes financial strain that I hadn't ran into since I had been in my active addiction. I mean, when I was in my active addiction, I was constantly well, I wasn't constantly broke, but at the end, it was very hand to mouth. And it's a bit triggering whenever money starts to dwindle and you're like, oh my God, I this feels like very familiar territory of being scared and I don't like this. I haven't worried about this in a while. So to work through that has been tough, but I'm also thankful for it because it does not allow for me to be complacent. It does not allow for me to just ride smooth. Life's like, nah, bitch, I'm here. I'm gonna fuck you up a lot. Just because you're sober don't mean shit's over. I'm like, okay, yes, you're right. Thank you. I'll have another. Um, yeah. And then I traveled to Mexico. I had the most you've been to Mexico, yeah?
No, oh my God, everybody talks so much shit to me because I've been to Europe, but I've
I've
never
been to
been to
Europe, yeah.
never been to Mexico.
Well, I mean, I love Mexico. I went to Europe last summer with some friends from college to Switzerland and France, and it was, I mean, it's in the third book, so I won't get too much
I
into it
saw your
because
pictures and I was just, oh my God, hold on. I'm gonna tell you what, bitch. I'm so mad at my ex boyfriend right now. So me and him were travel
oh,
buddies.
spill it.
After the breakup, and we went to Rome together, Germany, Prague, all these places. This little motherfucker is going to Switzerland in September with his best friend Cynthia and not take me. Like, how dare him?
Well, shit stains. Oh, I hate that for you because that's where I was at with Switzerland, was Zurich and Wengen and Lauterbrunnen. I know I'm butchering the names. I'm so sorry. I'm trying. Um, and the picture you're probably referring to is the one that was in Wengen, and it was just I wrote about that moment because it. Oh my gosh, just the gratitude and the appreciation for sobriety to be there and be present in that moment and the hard work, you know, you work hard and there are benefits and you do get to see them and it's so satisfying. But to get back to Mexico, yeah, my family, you know, they really have a tradition of going to Mexico around the new year or maybe in February. And um, I had been twice before with them, but you know, with me always drinking and being in and out of rehabs and sometimes homeless and them me not communicating with them, there were many, many years I missed out on those trips. And it it always made me sad because I felt like I was left out of my family and I knew it was my fault. They never were like you cannot go if you know they wanted me there. It was all my fucked up shenanigans that were keeping me from going. So now that I've got sober and then I got sober during COVID so we weren't really able to travel. So this year, this February was the first time we were able to go as a family again and just so humbled, so I just use the word grateful. I overuse it, but I was just so glad to be back there with them, hanging out and just laying by the pool and laughing and with my family and everyone happy and healthy. And that's so fortunate. So many people don't get that. And I realize that the privilege that is and I do not take it for granted for one moment. And I would go back to my room at night and just be like, thank you so very much. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but thank you so very much. It is not being lost on me. um and I went to this, oh my gosh, hold on, I know I'm just a blabbering like blabberbox, but I have so many things to tell you because it's this church that I went to and I have to go, it's like lady
Okay, so while you
uh,
Google that church, so your family, of course, you're landing by the pool in Mexico. The best thing to do in Mexico is to get fucked up. So, does your family drink around you or no?
Yes, my
Okay,
family does drink around me, but hold on, what? Yes,
you're
that's what I
fine.
want.
So
But
I'm gonna
it
tell a little.
is
Oh, go ahead.
um I mean, now that my sisters have children and we've all aged, it's not it's not what it used to be. It's not the raging that it used to be. And especially my sister Brody, she she doesn't really care to drink. Drinking is not her thing, you know? She doesn't really care to do anything. So we just hung out together, and it it wasn't the trigger that it would have been maybe 3 or 4 years ago when they were still drinking pretty hard before the nephews were here. But now no, no. Bless the stars. That was not in the cards for this one. But what's your story? And then I'll tell my story about
Oh
the
no, I was
church.
just gonna do some filler while you looked up the hotel. Crazy. I don't know if I really discussed this with the guests. So our last recording. Okay, so you sent me your second book PDF, so we
Uh-huh.
could get the recording done before it released. We
Yes.
recorded, and you know this, but while my recording was transitioning over into like the files, I was getting dressed to my go to relapse. And me
Oh
and
yeah,
you,
yeah,
after the episode, talked about, oh,
yeah,
this guy's hitting me up. And you're like, bitch, don't you dare do this.
yeah,
And that relapse lasted a month and a half long, that day. And
yeah.
but it's crazy. But well, I was just going to tell that small story before while
Yes,
you were
and
looking that up.
I hate that, but you know, I mean, you learned
Oh
though.
yeah,
You learned and it happened, and I mean, and what's so great is I see now the conversation about relapse getting so much more nuanced and so much less black and white, that people are understanding, okay, I went out for a month and a half. I didn't lose everything I did before. And that's why I was so proud of you. And this is another conversation that, you know, that we had like in private, about the podcast and just what it means to you. And I was so proud of how you handled it, because there were a million ways that you could have done that, and you did it the exact way that you should have done it. And that's what that does, is give other people so much inspiration and hope, and they can resonate because they're like, oh my god, I've been listening to him, you know, and kind of idolize, because that's what we do, is we idolize people that are sober, and they're projecting their sobriety, or not projecting, they're promoting their sobriety, and then to hear, oh, they're struggling, it just, I think it's really helpful for them, and I think what you did was beautiful.
yeah.
So
Because when people used to tell me, oh, I'm relapsing, or they've experienced relapse, I'm like, sorry about it. But I could never understand what feelings that they were going through and how much it hits your pride, it hits your ego, especially when you do live out loud so much with your sobriety. I mean, hell, you're an author of these books. Me, I do the podcast, and it's like people. I'm not gonna say look up to us, but in a way they're like, oh, this author, you're celebrating 2 years sober in Switzerland, and if relapse were ever to happen again, it's like fuck, like it's nobody is safe from relapse. So
nobody,
just because you
nobody,
relapse does not mean you cannot start over. I mean, I
exactly.
found my tribe here in Florida. I am doing exceptionally well in my recovery now. So um, everything's great. So back to Mexico. Hopefully, you found the name of the church.
Yes, it's our Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and it's in Puerto Vallarta, Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And it's this beautiful, beautiful, amazing, ornate church. And my family just kind of hung at the resort, and I was like, because I had been to a lot of cathedrals whenever I went to Europe, and then we had gone to Europe when I was in high school as like on on one of those high school trips, you know, that you do. So I had just seen a lot of cathedrals, and this upcoming set of books that I'm writing after my Quit Lit memoir trilogy is complete, um, a lot of it's going to kind of involve historical fiction and cathedrals and stuff. So I was like, I want to go get this as like material. And I am not a religious person by any means. I've always been very forward that AA and religion were not how found my sobriety, but I will never discredit them, and I will never bash them. I will never, I mean, I will always promote and support them. It's just not the path I took. So when I went into this church, I was just going as a writer to just analyze and remember and imprint. And I found myself sitting down on the pew and just talking to this wonderful, it probably has a very specific name in religion, but it was Jesus on the cross. And it just poured out of me, thank you, just thank you. I know you, or what you represent, a higher power, something greater than us, has gotten me to this pew here today. And the experiences that I've been given are out of this world. So lucky. You're such a guiding force, and I can see it now when I couldn't see it when I was living in the darkness. And it really felt like my soul was like blooming and shining, and I've felt such a sense of buoyancy since I came home, because that would have been February 27th. And it's helped with these court proceedings and the financial, because when you get that little dose of higher power that's like, bro, I am here and you're doing good, and fuck all the haters, it just it lifts you up. And yeah, just so many blessings. And I remind myself of them nightly so that I never forget that I came from a time when I was homeless and then living in a basement with 8 other guys, fucking living like a cheese rat. you know, don't you ever forget that, Charlie Gray.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is too is, um, it's moments like that that make us appreciate how far we've come.
Yes.
I was
And like what you were saying just a second ago, that it can be gone in a moment, and no one is exempt.
Yeah, what's crazy was like 3 days ago, Miss Girlfriend over here was on Grinder, okay, which I'm not anymore, but and
Yeah, stay off that bullshit.
the person I relapsed with in Florida messaged me
Uh-huh.
and was like, "Hey, what's up? You want to come over and do a little something, something?" A lot of my meth
Uh-huh.
addiction had to do with sex. So,
Oh, I know.
um, and
A lot of
I
people's does, and it makes sense. And I get it. I mean, I think a lot of addictions have to do with sex. Alcohol, even. I'd like to fuck whiskey dick, but I digress. Go on.
well, I entertained it, and I was, but then
Well,
it
that's
fucking clicked.
okay.
I
That's
clicked in
your
my head.
brain.
I was like, "Bitch!" I'm like, I'm in halfway, and of course, like, you test positive, you're out. We have a zero tolerance, and it's like you ain't got no job. Yes, I have a job lined up. I'm very grateful for that, but I haven't started yet. It's just like, where the hell would I go for a quick 10-minute dick? Like, it is not worth it. And so it takes me back to, I have to remember like where I'm at, why I'm here, and what the fuck I'm working towards. I'm working towards a life that I don't have to worry about needing to entertain men like that. I don't need to worry about men that don't give a flying fuck about all the hard work that I put in. Um,
You're working toward the life that you deserve.
yes. About a month and a half in to living in Florida, my roommates were like, "Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the beach." And I was like, "I don't like the salt water, like, but I do love the beach. I just there's too much unknown in the ocean." And I went laid down on the beach while they were in the water. The beach was fairly empty. We went to like a small, like local kind of private beach, and
Mm-hmm.
I laid out on the sand, looking like a beached whale, and
Mm.
I closed my eyes and just listened to the waves hitting the shore, and I was like, hands down, probably the most serene that I've ever felt in a long time
Oh,
because
well,
it was
one, don't body shame yourself like that. And two, I'm so happy to hear that.
it was I mean just small moments like that where it's like I'm on the beach. It was like a Tuesday afternoon on a beach, living my best life, not hungover,
Yeah,
not fucked up,
yeah,
not
yeah.
chasing a high, nothing.
Yes, sir.
And that's like Chris, I just had him on the podcast. He talks about gifts of recovery, and that was like small moments like that mean the most because I know when I'm struggling, and I know when I think things are the worst. It's like, girl, like go down to the beach. Like you don't
Yeah.
need to get high to forget all this. Just go to the beach and listen to the waves, listen to the birds, and then go look at some hot men while you're at it.
Yes, definitely. Oogle them. And that's so I loved to do that when I was living in California. And then when I was living in Oregon, I would go down to this beautiful, it was the Willamette River there in the Eugene Springfield area. And yet you get to ground yourself. You go back to nature, you get to ground yourself, you get to remember what's important, you get to remember we're here for a fleeting amount of time. And these substances have robbed so much time from us. And like you said, what is 10 minutes of dick? What
Yes,
is it really going to get? Nothing. It
nothing,
does
and
not
it'll get me an
enhance.
STD.
Yeah, that's what it and Lord knows haven't we had to deal with that, but like, oh god, doc, yeah, I'm back again.
Exactly.
Like,
My
yeah,
doctor's
that
like,
was my
really?
20s. That was my 20s. Like, god, you name it, I had to. Well, no, I should not say that in jest or light because I got so fortunate that I never had anything happen to me that was, everything was curable by pill or
Yeah,
something,
bacterial. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same thing here.
So
Every time I came back from Europe, my doctor's like, again? Like he's
again,
like, calm down. Um,
but they're so hot, I can't help myself.
I know, especially when you're in Europe, you're never gonna see them again. But going like to this church, what's crazy when you go to these cathedrals, I know I kind of experienced um not what you experienced per se, but just like the awe of beauty. Okay.
Yeah.
We in America seem to like we go to these churches, they're so commercialized, they're very just brick and mortar, very plain. But then you go to these churches in um Italy, you go to these churches in Europe, Mexico, and like you're just stunned in the architecture, the work put into this. Like you could tell that the people that built this place of worship did it from the love and care of their God to give
Well, they were
themselves like this.
sending a message. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
sending a message about the majesty and the power of God. And I mean, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. I know in there there's one in New York City, and I can't think of what it is. My friend William, though, he took me to it. It's Saint something or other, something with a P maybe. But like we've got some, but it's nothing like any. Yeah, there are all these mega church that looks like you're walking into like a sports arena, like amphitheater. It's
yes,
just like we're just such a different vibe when it comes to that. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we could talk on hours about that, and that is just such a crazy tangent that I want to
it
go
is. But I
into. But
mean, it's well, we won't go there because we don't want to harm we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But yeah, I mean, it's to go and just sit in a pew in a church like this and just take it all in. I mean, especially like unfortunately, you can't really do that at the Sistine Chapel because of the amount of tourism that goes there. But I could not imagine
all you
just
can
being able
do
to like,
is look up, and you can't. I remember it's like you had to whisper, like you
yes,
couldn't even. And I was just like, oh. And they told me something like, Michelangelo was not a painter. Michelangelo was a sculptor. And I was like, no, bitch, I am not a painter.
I don't. Well, you know, so funny. I don't classify him a painter either. Okay. This is my philosophy. Abstract people are painters. People that can actually do landscapes, portraits, stuff like that. Those are actually artists. Like it takes true artist
Okay.
talent to paint a portrait, but like to do some fucking abstract rolling around on a canvas, like that's, I mean, yes, it is art, but it doesn't take. Well, hold on, don't offend nobody, because I mean, I paint two hoes, and I don't classify myself an artist. I classify myself a painter because I do more abstract.
Well, and some stuff, I don't know, art, some of the strangest art will move me, and then some of the stuff that's supposed to be like the most magnificent and, venerable. I'm like, I don't do shit for me. But then I'll see this other painting that's just like that just sweeps me away. And it's usually just a feeling that it evokes. That's what art is for me, is a feeling that it evokes. And that's what I try to implement in my writing is, and what's been nice is I've had several people reach out to me that do not struggle with addiction themselves, but they have loved ones or friends, and they've been able to understand what that loved one or friend is going through, because I for whatever reason could evoke what it's like to be in the grips of a relapse. And that's why I feel like art is important. That is why I feel like art must be upheld, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I think it's the only way that I can ever leave my mark, or I want to better this world, and this is the only way I know how to do it, you know?
Exactly. No, I totally understand. For me, art, I just like conversation piece, and I am more way into the shock art, where it's like the woman that Lady Gaga hired, where she's like vomits onto a canvas, um, with soy dyed soy milk dyed, and whatever. Like me, that's the art that I love and appreciate. But talking about your writings, if anybody hasn't listened to the episodes, it's episode 5 regarding Charlie's first book, and episode 58 on the podcast for his second book. If you want to kind of get a quick synopsis and see if they're right for you. But let me tell you, hands down, I will tell y'all, I absolutely despise reading. I hate it to the core of my being. Um, and that first book, man, I like it took me, I think it was like a day and a half, almost 2 days. Like
It
I
was
went
quick.
through that book
You read
quick.
it quick. Yes, I was
Second book took me
so
a little
honored.
longer, but I was like relapsing
You were
and
going through some shit. I mean, life was happening and my book was not important in that
it
moment.
was
Like,
but I
I
still
no,
finished
I
it in a
get
week.
it.
I think it was like a week and a half for the second book, but and I'm hella excited for the third book, and everything. Uh, but yeah, those are on Amazon. I'll link them down in the bio. But you have a way of explaining what you're doing, like kind of what's the words I'm looking for? It's like people have a hard time conveying their truth and their story while keeping it entertaining, because there's a difference between trying to entertain an audience and trying to educate an audience, and like you
Yeah.
were able to encompass both of those, because like the podcast here, that's why I kind of wanted a lighthearted episode, because even though addiction is a very serious issue in America, people are dying every minute of the day due to overdosing, um like we still want this to be entertaining and fun and lighthearted, to show people that like we are human and we enjoy ourselves and we live our best life and we do some crazy shit even in recovery. And you did that with your books. You were able to, you kept me motherfucking entertained, at least laughing, crying,
Oh,
curious about you and boys, and
yeah.
kind of, especially that first book. Me and you kind of touched on like the home and everything that you grew up in. Like you were able to convey like that I was there with you, with your sister, chilling with you guys, and at the raves with your friends and stuff like that. So um,
Oh.
you were able to convey your message very, very well in a way that entertains me and kept me actually interested. And but understanding that you did have a real struggle and you were able to overcome that shit.
Oh my goodness.
Girl, don't get all sappy with me.
I'll pull my shit together.
Pull
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah. I'll give you a synopsis. Yeah, that was just yeah. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to do. I wanted to show that joy doesn't have to be thrown out just because addiction is present, you know? And I didn't I what was so important to me is I said, Charlie, you must go into these books without any sort of agenda other than providing comfort and being authentic. That must be your only agenda. And that helped me write. It helped me stay true. And the first one, At Least I'm Not the Frog, it takes place from 2010 until 2021, and it chronicles the entirety of my addiction from right out of college when it really hadn't consumed my life to when it just takes over to my 54. I don't cover each 54, stint, but to all my stints in rehab and psych wards, and it closes with how I found sobriety. And the second book, The Frog's Bottle, that one is a very specific time of my life, August of 2019, when I had just received my fourth DUI for driving drunk. I had been lying to my family and friends that I was sober for months. I I really was at a point where mentally and emotionally I had never been lower. And I admit myself to my fifth rehab at the time. And fate allowed me to be placed with the most amazing, endearing, caring, just like-minded individuals, and we bonded and became a family, and we became better for it. And the third book that will be coming out in May, it really encompasses from 1996 up until now, and it breaks down, well, why was he an alcoholic, and what contributed to it, and what I hope readers can take away from this trilogy that I've written is I never ever sought to write a cure or a how to. I merely wanted to provide a guide of, this is everything that happened to me. This is how I coped. This is what was done, and here's how I got out of it, so that maybe they can apply that to their own lives and then find their own peace and purpose, because I know that it is within every single one of us to get sober and find our purpose and live that dream life. Because the reality of the fact, and I hate to be dark, is the candle's going to go out very soon, and we shan't waste this time any longer, my friends.
Yes, I mean, whether you're talking about the end of the world or just our time of death.
Or just your life, where you never know. Live to the fullest, live in the moment. It sounds cliche, but I wouldn't want any other way, because we are so blessed, and we must look for the beauty, because the darkness and the ugliness, it's going to find us.
Yes. And the thing is, recovery, let me tell you, it brings the most weird people into your life. And it's such a blessing. Like in
It's an
addiction,
amazing blessing.
yes,
This friendship that we have,
yes,
yes.
we find people that excuse our addiction or are worse off than us in their addiction to make us, well, that's what I did. I started myself with people worse in addiction to make myself feel like mine wasn't that bad. But now it's like the people that I have in my life, all they want from me is to see me do better. That's it. They
Exactly.
they just want to see me happy and live a fulfilling life. And it's the people that I speak to, like the earlier episode of Renee. Um, I would, if I saw her on the streets, I'd be crossing the street. because
Yeah.
of her physical appearance, but she is like one of the most humble, heartfelt, um,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
people I've met, and you would have never have known that because of her choices of like tattoos on the face and shit when she was all fucked up
Yeah.
and roaming the
Yeah.
streets, and so I mean it puts people into your life that just bring magic out of you, and you see you're having a bad day, the dope man offers you fucking some dope for a cheaper price, but people in recovery, you're having a bad day, they're like, what's up? They want to listen, they want to
Hmm.
help, and they want to see you get happier. So flipping all the way back to the beginning of this episode, you discussed having to go to court. You're having to kind of deal with some legal situations,
Hmm.
from the choices you made in addiction.
Hmm.
How
Yes.
is being sober today helping the court? Like, is it helping when you go in front of a judge and you're like, "Bitch, I'm 2.5 years sober"?
It is helping amazingly, and here is why. Because I am back in my hometown, and my hometown is a small town of 9,000 people. And there's, a lot of people know what I've been doing, in this town at least. I am by no means like a celebrity or anything, but in my small hometown, people have heard, the books have done well enough for people to be like, wow, Charlie's like really turned his life around. And so it has helped because the the law people that I'm dealing with, they know that like this man standing in front of me is not bullshitting me. This man standing in front of me is doing everything in his power to get this reinstated. He had just dug himself a hole that was deeper than like, and like we all do, I had created a shitstorm hurricane tornado that had fucked up everything. And picking up the pieces takes time. And I'm fortunate to be surrounded by people in that arena that understand that I'm doing the best that I can. And each time I arrive to court, you know, I'm on top of it. I wouldn't have been when I was drinking. I'm on top of it. I'm getting things done, and they see that and they respect that, because there's a lot of people that aren't. So when you're showing up sober and on top of your shit, and there's five other people that are just fucking busted as hell, it's like you kind of shine a little bit. And and that's a gift of sobriety. Only sobriety can give you that. That's sobriety's gift, and I will give full credit to it. But definitely, yeah, being in the sober state of mind is a great ace in my pocket right now.
Yes, let me tell you, I not to drop, well, I'm not going to drop their names, of course, but I go to a meeting, 12-step meeting here in the city of Florida I live in, and it's insane. Like, you have people that went from home, you hear them their stories, and they go from homelessness, they go from no job, living off their parents, and like, and then you see what they're driving away in. They're
Mm-hmm.
fucking driving a Lamborghini, a Maserati, a fucking G wagon. You're just like, and they're only
Exactly.
a year and a half clean, and it's to hear them speak on how low they were at one point in their addiction to thriving, to getting their kids back, getting custody back, getting their relationship with their loved ones back. I mean, you you put your father through the ringer, and when
Yes.
um go to detail on his first book, and you can understand why, and now it's like you're going to family vacations to Mexico, and
Hanging out
living,
with him.
yeah, just hanging out, and your dad probably looks at you from afar and is like proud as fuck to you now.
Oh yeah, and he doesn't have to. What's so great is he can be excited for me again. He doesn't have to be scared and worried. He
That's
can go
three
to
o'clock in the morning phone call.
yeah, he can go to bed peaceful at night thinking, what is Charlie going to text me tomorrow? Some great news that he's on the cover of this, or he's gotten this, or it's like it used to be, am I going to hear from him? And now it's, yes, of course. And I did want to say, though, I just wanted to make it clear that I'm not trying to imply that you have to fall off the Grand Canyon. You know, everybody's rock bottom is different. Yours can be different than mine, and you can climb, you can climb as well. It's just, I just wanted to make that distinction, that I know that that's kind of like a trigger and hard for some people to hear the rock bottom, because it's used a lot. So everyone's rock bottom is different.
Well, I would say if anybody has a high bottom, to go listen to Allison's episode, because she was never an alcoholic. She um was just sober curious, wanting to do like a
Yeah.
30-day sober cleanse, and
Yeah.
realized just how much better she felt, and is now owning bars. Her and her husband own bars in New York City, and she is fully sober now. And she's like, you don't have to hit a bottom. Don't wait until you hit that bottom, because trust me, rock bottom ain't
Don't
pretty.
hit that bottom. Please don't. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
No, nope. It's ugly as hell. So it's like, if you don't have to wait till you get to that point in order to seek that recovery. And the thing is,
Absolutely not.
the first thing in order to seek recovery, I'm not telling you to go to a 12-step room. I'm not telling you to go to a rehab. Ask for help.
Yeah, in whatever form you
sober
feel
on
most
TikTok.
comfortable.
Just
Yeah.
ask for help. I mean, that's the first step you got to do. But thank you so much, Charlie, for coming on here today. I appreciate it as always.
Thank you so much, Holden. This is so fun. I love talking with you. And yeah, everyone just stay positive, stay true to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Keep trying, and you'll get there.
Yes, and where do we find your books at?
You can find my books. They are exclusively on Amazon. You can type in At Least I'm Not the Frog. You can type in Charlie and the Frog or Charlie Gray. You can type that on Google, Amazon, anywhere. Just type in that and you will find everything that I have to offer.
Awesome. And I will also link website or the Amazon link also in the bio of this episode. So have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember, everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.